Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, we know this literally does not work. And we are here in the first day of padded practices. And our Dallas Cowboys are on the field as we speak. Now, the Cowboys, I pointed out earlier, are trying something new. They're doing yoga. That's right, yoga at practice. Now, let's get open for business here as we are only 42 days, 20 hours, 20 minutes, and 30 seconds away from kickoff against the Carolina Panthers. So yes, the Cowboys are trying to cut down on soft tissue injuries, good old pulled hamstrings and so forth, because the Cowboys have always had that issue. Hopefully this will work. The extra stretching, flexibility, and balance definitely cannot hurt. Now here's what's interesting to me. At the start of this practice, somebody was heard yelling, "Jason Garrett, we love you, but this is your last year." With the whole Dez Bryant discussion yesterday about Scott Linehan's offense and basically stating that we basically lined up in the same positions for 17 weeks in that garbage-ass offense. Well, here's what we do know. People have always said that our offense was predictable. I've been sitting on the couch and I could tell you what was going on sitting at home on my couch. So if I can figure it out, defensive coordinators who will dissect every play that you make will be able to dissect it. So for whatever reasons, he dumbed it down. So this begs the question, does what Dez Bryant have a lot of validity to it? When we go down through and we look at Scott Linehan coaching career, we've been here before with this Dez Bryant situation. See, Scott Linehan was originally hired as the Rams head coach. And he took an aging team, a team that had won a Super Bowl, and the stars and stuff that started getting older, and had to basically start retooling and starting over. But he had the same kind of sideline issues with the wide receiver. In fact, he actually had fights with the sidelines with Isaac Bruce. That offense, that team went from 8-8 when he first took over to 3-13 and then 0-4 to start out the next year, and he was fired. Now, he did do great work with the Minnesota Vikings. He actually got them in the top 5 in offensive categories. With the Lions, when he went there, it was after the dreaded 0-16 season. They were 29th in yards and 26th in points. They got better, 20-17 the next year, 9-5, to second and third, and then 5-6. So he did do some decent work there with the Lions. Now, the question that you have to ask is this. Is Scott Linehan really that good of a coach? Or did he benefit from the players that were around him? You could take a guy like, say, Norv Turner. Norv Turner looked like an offensive genius when he was here with Dallas. But you had Emmitt Smith, the great offensive line, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin. You don't have to really coach that well to get that kind of production. And so when you start looking back where he's been with our Cowboys, where we were 20 and 22nd, 6-5, and then 11-14 last year, what you kind of have to wonder is, did Tony Romo make up for a lot of that? Because think about this. How many times did we see busted plays that Tony Romo ended up turning into something spectacular? Remember against the Texans when J.J. Watt literally had him dead to rights? Somehow Tony Romo did a 360, spun out of it, and found Terrence Williams deep in the end zone. I guarantee you plays like that weren't drawn up and designed like that. I think Tony Romo actually covered up for a lot of that offense because Tony Romo's an incredible quarterback. Unfortunately, he had other people and things that just weren't the right situation for him to finally make it. The defense wasn't strong enough in positions, or players dropped the ball at the wrong time and things. It just wasn't meant to be. But Tony Romo could make a lot out of nothing. And when you look at 2016, you had a Tony Romo on the sidelines there helping along with Dak Prescott. And I believe that Tony Romo really kind of was more of the offensive coordinator in helping him see things on the field. So you have to wonder then, without Tony Romo last year, when you now have your offensive coordinator who admits that he dumbed down the route trees and that they didn't really mix things up, and we as fans can see that, you have to wonder, how good is Scott Linehan? Now, if there's any good news, he's, I believe, feeling some pressure right now. They are definitely opening things up. They are definitely trying all kinds of different combinations and different formations, different looks, because basically, as Zeke Elliott put it out, we basically have about 5 plays. We just have about 8 different looks on them. I believe that right now, Scott Linehan is playing for his job and is going to definitely try and do everything he can to be a better coach on this field, because he's got to. We can't have a dumbed-down offense like we did last year. Yeah, you got a great running attack with the offensive line you have in Zeke Elliott, but that's not enough. You still need to be able to take this thing to another level. You still have to have threats on the outside. You still have to open things up, because eventually people are going to figure out how to stop the offensive line. And last year, it was penetration. If you could get penetration on the offensive line and make Zeke Elliott have to make a move in the backfield, you will slow it down. And it's subtleties like that that teams will figure out. So if you do not come out there with something new, a wrinkle, a little curveball here and there, you're going to have the same kind of results as you had last year. So we'll have to wait and see. But it does feel a little bit like the 2006, 2007, 2008 St. Louis Rams. I'm Mark Holmes with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and I'll be back later on with some notes from today's first padded practice. I'll see you guys a little bit later.